She was exhausted that Tuesday afternoon, but something in the boy's eyes made her stay. The empty classroom felt different after hours. Ms. Sarah Chen had been teaching for just 3 years, but she'd never seen a student struggle quite like Marcus did. Not with math or reading, with hope itself. "I don't get it," Marcus whispered, staring at his blank paper. "Why does it even matter if I learn this?" The question hung in the air like a cry for help disguised as defiance. Sarah pulled up a chair beside him, not across from him like a teacher, beside him like someone who understood. "You know what, Marcus? Sometimes I wonder the same thing." The boy's eyes widened. Teachers weren't supposed to say things like that. But then I remember something. Every single thing we learn is a key. And you never know which door you'll need to open tomorrow. Marcus looked skeptical. He'd heard empty motivational speeches before. Sarah noticed his doubt. She always noticed. "Let me tell you about keys, Marcus. When I was your age, my teacher stayed after school with me too. I was failing everything." The afternoon sun slanted through windows, casting long shadows. The classroom transformed. It wasn't just room 204 anymore. It was a place where futures could change. That teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, she saved my life, not dramatically. She saved it quietly, one afternoon at a time. One, "I believe in you," at a time. Marcus's pencil moved slightly. Just a twitch. But it was movement. What Sarah didn't know was that Principal Williams was walking past at that very moment. He stopped, watching through the door window. He saw something that made him pull out his phone and text the superintendent. "You need to see this tomorrow. It's important." Sarah and Marcus worked for 2 more hours. Division problems became life lessons. Fractions became metaphors for broken things becoming whole. Neither noticed the time. When they finally packed up, Marcus did something he hadn't done all year. He smiled. "Same time tomorrow, Ms. Chen?" "Same time tomorrow, Marcus. Every tomorrow you need." As they walked out together, the empty hallway echoed with their footsteps. 2 people who had no idea that their simple act of staying late would ripple outward like a stone thrown into still water. The next morning arrived with Sarah's phone buzzing at 6:47 a.m. "Please report to the superintendent's office before classes. Begin, urgent." Her heart stopped. In teaching, those words meant only one thing: something had gone wrong. The drive to the district office felt like crossing a minefield. Had a parent complained? Had she broken some protocol? Dr. Patricia Hawkins sat behind a mahogany desk that seemed designed to intimidate. She wasn't smiling. "Ms. Chen, please sit down. We need to discuss what happened yesterday." Sarah felt her career flashing before her eyes. "I can explain," she began, but Dr. Hawkins raised a hand. "I don't think you can, because I don't think you understand what you've done." The pause stretched between them like a chasm. "Principal Williams sent me a video yesterday," Dr. Hawkins continued, turning her computer screen around. "He filmed it through your classroom door. He sent it with a message that said, 'This is why we teach.'" Sarah watched herself on the screen, sitting beside Marcus, explaining fractions with patience she didn't know she possessed. She saw the way she leaned in when Marcus struggled, the way she celebrated his small victories, the way she made him believe he mattered. "Do you know what you've done, Ms. Chen?" Dr. Hawkins asked again, but this time her voice had changed, softer, warmer. "You've reminded us why we got into education in the first place." Sarah felt tears threatening. "I don't understand. Am I in trouble?" Dr. Hawkins smiled then. "Trouble? Ms. Chen, I've been superintendent for 15 years. I rarely see this anymore. This pure belief that one child's understanding can change everything. Teachers burn out. They get cynical. They forget that education isn't about test scores. It's about moments like what you created yesterday. Moments when a child realizes someone believes they're worth the extra time. No, Dr. Hawkins said firmly. You were doing what we've forgotten to do. You were teaching like it matters because it does. Yesterday, you gave Marcus something more valuable than any grade. You gave him proof that he's worth fighting for. The morning sun streamed through the office windows. Sarah felt something shifting inside her chest. Recognition. Validation. "I've made a decision," Dr. Hawkins announced. "And it's going to change everything." "We're failing our students," Dr. Hawkins said. "Not academically. We're failing them humanly. We've become so obsessed with standardized tests that we've forgotten why we're here." Sarah remained silent, sensing this was bigger than just her and Marcus. "Last year we had the highest test scores in the state. The school board celebrated, and yet our dropout rate increased. Our student depression rate skyrocketed. How is that success?" "It's not," Sarah admitted. "Success isn't just numbers. It's Marcus smiling for the first time all year. It's knowing someone cares enough to stay." "Exactly, which is why I'm creating a new position, district-wide. Someone to remind our teachers what you reminded me yesterday. That education is about connection first, curriculum second." Sarah's heart raced. "What kind of position?" "Coordinator of student engagement and teacher wellness. Someone to work with struggling students. Someone to support burned-out teachers. Someone to bring humanity back into our classrooms. Someone like you, Ms. Chen, if you'll accept it." The offer hit Sarah like a physical force. Leave her classroom, leave students like Marcus? But then she thought about all the other Marcuses out there, all the overwhelmed teachers staying late with no support. You'd be multiplying your impact, training other teachers to do what you did yesterday, creating programs that ensure no student falls through the cracks. Sarah thought about Mrs. Rodriguez, her own teacher who had stayed late all those years ago. What if she could have helped? Not just one struggling girl, but hundreds. "Can I still work with students directly?" Sarah asked. Dr. Hawkins smiled. "Part of your role would be working with our most at-risk students, the ones everyone else has given up on. There's something else. The position comes with authority to implement real change. New programs, teacher training, budget allocation for student support services." Sarah's mind raced with possibilities. After-school programs that felt like lifelines, teacher workshops on emotional intelligence, mentorship programs. "When do I start?" The words surprised Sarah as they left her mouth. "Monday. But first there's someone else you need to meet." She pressed a button on her desk phone. "Maria? Can you come in, please?" The door opened, and Sarah's world tilted, because walking through that door was Mrs. Rodriguez. Her Mrs. Rodriguez, the teacher who had saved her life one afternoon at a time. "Hello, mija," Mrs. Rodriguez said softly, and Sarah was 11 years old again, sitting in an empty classroom, learning that she mattered. "I don't understand," Sarah whispered. "How are you here?" "I've been working with the district for 5 years now," Mrs. Rodriguez explained, moving forward to embrace her former student, consulting, pushing for change. "When Patricia showed me that video yesterday, I knew the student had become the teacher." Dr. Hawkins watched the reunion with satisfaction. "Maria has been my unofficial advisor on student engagement. She's the one who convinced me we needed this position. But we could never find the right person. Until now." Sarah felt tears flowing freely. "You saved my life, and I never got to properly thank you." "You thanked me every day you showed up," Mrs. Rodriguez replied. "Every test you passed, every year you moved forward, and now, every student you refused to leave behind." "Tell her about the program," Dr. Hawkins prompted. "We're calling it Stay After," Mrs. Rodriguez began. "A district-wide initiative where teachers are supported to do exactly what you did yesterday. Stay after. Show up. Make time for the kids who need it most." Sarah's mind was spinning. But how do we identify which students need it? How do we train teachers who might be burned out? Those are exactly the right questions. And that's why we need you. You understand both sides. The exhausted teacher trying to make a difference. The struggling student wondering if anyone sees them. "We've already secured funding," Dr. Hawkins added. "Grants, private donations from alumni who remember their own stay-after teachers." Sarah thought about Marcus, probably sitting in first period right now. "What about my current students?" "You'll transition slowly. Keep teaching part-time while you develop the program." "And Marcus? He'll be one of your first officials stay after students. The morning sun had climbed higher, flooding the office with light that felt like possibility. There's one more thing, Dr. Hawkins said. The video Principal Williams sent me? I want to show it at the next all-district meeting. I want every teacher to see what staying after really means. Sarah nodded. Can I ask you something? She said to Mrs. Rodriguez. All those afternoons you stayed with me, did you know what it would become? Mrs. Rodriguez's eyes glistened. I knew I was helping a little girl learn fractions. I had no idea I was shaping a teacher who would reshape how we think about teaching itself. But maybe that's the point. We never know which small acts will become revolutionary. Monday arrived with the weight of new beginnings. Sarah stood in her classroom at 6 a.m. watching the empty desks, her students, at least for a few more months. While she transitioned, she'd spent the weekend in a daze of planning. Her mother had cried when she heard about Mrs. Rodriguez. After all these years, she'd whispered. But now in the quiet, doubt crept in. Who was she to reshape district policy? She was just Sarah Chen, who still sometimes felt like that struggling 11-year-old. You're early. Marcus stood in the doorway, looking uncertain. I wanted to make sure you were still here. That you didn't, he trailed off. That you didn't leave like everyone else. Come in. I have something to tell you. Sarah pulled up a chair beside him. I'm going to be taking on a new role in the district, but I'm not leaving you. I'm going to make sure that what we have, more students get to have it too. Marcus's face went through several expressions: confusion, fear, then understanding. Like, you're going to teach other teachers to stay after school? Exactly. And you're going to be part of it. I need students to help me understand what works, what makes someone feel seen versus what makes them feel like a project. Would you help me? For the first time since she'd known him, Marcus sat up, straighter. You want my help to teach teachers? I need your help, because you understand what it feels like to be invisible in a crowded room. You understand what one person staying after means. The morning bell rang. Soon the classroom would flood with students. But Sarah had planted a seed. Marcus wasn't just a struggling student anymore. He was a consultant, a partner in revolution. Throughout the day, Sarah taught with new eyes. She noticed the girl who flinched when someone raised their hand too quickly, the boy who drew elaborate worlds in his notebook margins, the transfer student who ate lunch alone. During her planning period, she met with Mrs. Rodriguez. The older woman had brought boxes of materials, 30 years of wisdom distilled into manageable pieces. Where do we start? Sarah asked, overwhelmed. Mrs. Rodriguez pulled out a faded photograph, a class picture from 1996. She pointed to a small girl in the second row. We start by remembering. Every teacher was once a student. Every teacher had moments when they felt unseen. We reconnect them with that feeling. Then we show them how to be the person they needed. They worked through lunch, mapping out training modules. Real, raw conversations about why teachers chose this profession and what made them forget. I want to film testimonials, Sarah said suddenly. Students talking about teachers who stayed after. Real stories, real impact. Mrs. Rodriguez smiled. Now you're thinking like a revolutionary, because that's what this is, mija. A revolution of caring. By the time the final bell rang, Sarah had 3 meetings scheduled for tomorrow. Her phone buzzed. A text from Dr. Hawkins. Channel 6 wants to do a story about the program. Are you ready to go public? Sarah looked at Marcus, bent over his homework. At the 3 new students who'd somehow heard about the teacher who stays. Yes. She typed back, we're ready. The news crew arrived Wednesday, transforming Sarah's classroom into a production set. Sarah felt exposed under the TV lights, but Marcus sat beside her, radiating confidence. Just tell them the truth, Mrs. Rodriguez had advised. So Sarah did. She spoke about exhaustion and hope, about students who fell through cracks, about teachers who wanted to help but didn't have support. The reporter leaned forward. But isn't this just another feel-good program that will fade when the novelty wears off? Sarah felt Marcus tense beside her. This was his fear too, that this caring was temporary. "You're right," Sarah said, surprising everyone. "Programs do come and go. But this isn't a program, it's a philosophy shift. We're not adding something extra to teachers' plates. We're reminding them why they picked up the plate in the first place." Marcus spoke up then, his voice clear. "Ms. Chen saved my life. Not literally. But she made me believe I wasn't stupid, that I was worth staying for. Every kid deserves that." The camera operator had to pause to wipe his eyes. "Marcus, what would you say to teachers watching this?" Marcus looked directly at the camera. "It matters. When you stay, when you see us, it matters forever. I'm going to remember Ms. Chen forever, and maybe someday I'll be the one staying after for someone else." After the crew left, Sarah found herself with Mrs. Rodriguez. "Do you know what you've started?" Mrs. Rodriguez asked. "This morning, I got 17 emails from teachers across the district. They want in." Sarah pulled up her own email. 43 messages. One stood out from a veteran teacher named Robert Walsh. "I've been teaching for 28 years. I was ready to retire, burned out. Then I saw your interview preview. I remembered why I started. I want to stay after again." "We need to move fast," Sarah said. "This momentum, we can't let it dissipate." Mrs. Rodriguez nodded. "I've already started drafting a proposal. Stipends for teachers who participate, mental health support, student nomination systems." Sarah's phone rang. "Dr. Hawkins. Turn on Channel 6, the preview just aired. The station's phone lines are jammed. The mayor wants to meet tomorrow." They found a TV. The preview was 90 seconds, centered on Marcus saying, "Every kid deserves someone who stays." It ended with information about a community meeting Friday night. Friday? Sarah felt panic. "That's in 2 days. We're not ready. We have the truth," Mrs. Rodriguez said. "We have stories. That's all we need." Sarah's phone buzzed continuously. One message stopped her cold. From her own middle school principal, now retired. "I remember when Mrs. Rodriguez fought to keep her after-school sessions despite budget cuts. I was wrong. Count me in for Friday." During last period, a shy girl approached. "Ms. Chen, my mom wants to come Friday. She wants to tell people about my brother, about how he dropped out because no one stayed." Sarah felt the weight of it all. This was about reimagining what school could be. What happened when we decided every child deserved someone who refused to give up? As the final bell rang, Sarah noticed something new. Teachers standing in doorways watching students with fresh attention, looking for the ones who might need someone to stay. The revolution had begun. Friday night arrived like a storm. The auditorium, built for 500, overflowed with 800 people. Parents, teachers, students, community members, media crews. Sarah stood backstage, hands trembling. "You ready?" Dr. Hawkins appeared beside her. "I've never seen anything like this. The school board is here, the mayor, 3 state representatives." Through the curtain, Sarah spotted Marcus in the 3rd row with his grandmother, Mrs. Rodriguez near the front with former students, Robert Walsh with colleagues wearing "I Stay After" t-shirts. 5 minutes, the stage manager called. Sarah's parents appeared. "We're so proud, mija," her mother said. "Mrs. Rodriguez saved you, and now you're saving others." The lights dimmed. Dr. Hawkins took the stage. "We're here because of a video that showed us what we've lost, and what we can reclaim." She played the video on the large screen. The audience watched, teachers wiping tears, parents nodding, students leaning forward. "I want to introduce the teacher who reminded us why we teach. Sarah Chen." The applause was deafening. Sarah found Marcus's eyes. He nodded encouragement. "Tuesday afternoon, I almost went home," Sarah began. "I was tired, I had papers to grade, but I stayed, not because I'm special. I stayed because 20 years ago someone stayed for me." She told them about Mrs. Rodriguez, about failing grades and afternoons that saved a life. The auditorium was silent. "But here's what I've learned. Every person in this room has a staying story. Either someone stayed for you, or you desperately needed someone to stay and no one did." She introduced Marcus, who walked to the microphone with confidence. "I used to think I was stupid. Now I know I just learned different. Ms. Chen taught me that, but she couldn't have if she'd gone home. One by one, others spoke. Destiny's mother about her son who'd slipped through cracks. Robert Walsh about losing his way until this week reminded him why he'd become a teacher. Then Mrs. Rodriguez took the stage. The audience erupted. 30 years ago, I stayed after school with a little girl who was drowning. I didn't know I was planting seeds that would bloom into this moment. I just knew she needed someone to stay. Sarah retook the microphone. We're not just talking about a program, we're talking about a promise that no child in this district will wonder if they're worth someone's time. By meeting's end, they had 200 teacher volunteers, 50 parent volunteers, a commitment from the mayor for emergency funding, and a room full of people who remembered why education mattered. As the crowd dispersed, Sarah found herself with Marcus and Mrs. Rodriguez. Did we do it? Marcus asked. Did we really change things? Change doesn't happen all at once, Mrs. Rodriguez said. It happens one afternoon at a time, one teacher who stays, one student who believes. Yes, we changed things, and tomorrow, we'll change them again. 6 months later, Sarah stood watching 40 teachers in vulnerable conversation about why they'd almost quit. Stay After had spread to neighboring districts, catching national attention. I was packing up my classroom, Robert Walsh was saying. 28 years and I was done. Then I saw Marcus on TV. I unpacked that same night. Teachers nodded, recognizing their stories. The burned out becoming believers again. Marcus sat beside her, now a junior consultant for the program. Ms. Chen changed my life, Marcus had told the Board of Education last month. But she couldn't have if the system hadn't let her. That's what Stay After does. It lets teachers be human. The ripple effects were staggering. Attendance increased because students felt connected. Teacher retention improved because they remembered why they'd chosen teaching. Parent engagement soared because they saw their children bloom. The real victories were quieter. Like Amy, who'd been skipping until her art teacher stayed after. Like David, whose stutters silenced him until his English teacher stayed late. We have visitors, Dr. Hawkins announced. The Department of Education sent a team. They're considering making Stay After a national model. Sarah felt the room tense. National attention meant scrutiny. The lead visitor, Dr. Carol Manning, stepped forward. We've been following your results. We need to understand how you're achieving this without additional curriculum. Marcus stood up. Can I show you something? He walked to the wall of photos and letters. This is Jamie. She was going to drop out. Mrs. Patterson stayed after. She's going to college now. The visitors listened as Marcus continued, story by story. Real kids, real teachers, real change. How many students are in the program? Dr. Manning asked. All of them, Sarah answered. That's the point. Stay After isn't for at-risk kids. It's a philosophy that every child might need someone to stay. The visiting team spent hours observing. As they prepared to leave, Dr. Manning pulled Sarah aside. This is different. This is what we've forgotten. That education is about human connection. We want to help you scale this. After they left, Sarah found herself on the school roof with Mrs. Rodriguez. I'm scared, Sarah admitted. What if making it bigger makes it smaller? Mrs. Rodriguez smiled. We're not building a program, we're spreading a philosophy. Programs can be corrupted. Philosophies rooted in truth endure. Sarah's phone buzzed. A message from Marcus. My sister just asked her teacher to stay after. The teacher said yes. My sister smiled for the first time since Dad left. This is working. This is working. 3. Simple words carrying revolutionary weight. The National Summit was held in Washington, D.C. Sarah stood before 2,000 educators, Marcus beside her, now 16 and confident. They asked me to present data, Sarah began. I have all of that. But first, I want you to meet Marcus, because he is the data that matters. Marcus stepped forward. 3 years ago, I was invisible. Then Ms. Chen stayed after. She taught me math, sure, but mostly she taught me I was worth staying for. The room was silent. I'm not here to tell you I became a straight-A student. I'm here to tell you I became visible. I became someone who stays after for others. Sarah clicked through slides showing the program's spread. 30 districts, 15,000 teachers trained. But more importantly, a shift in how education was understood. The question everyone asks is how we maintain authenticity while scaling. The answer is simple. We don't control it. We plant seeds and trust teachers to grow gardens that fit their soil. Dr. Manning joined them on stage. The Department of Education is announcing a $10 million grant program, but this isn't about compliance. It's about support. During the break, teachers surrounded them, not asking about implementation but about hope, about remembering why they chose teaching. My principal says we don't have time, a young teacher confided. What do I do? Marcus answered. You stay anyway, because that's what real teachers do. And when you show your principal what staying creates, they'll remember why they went into education too. Stories poured out. A teacher from Alaska who'd started Stay After Saturdays. A principal from Florida who'd restructured the school day to build in staying time. This is bigger than us now, Marcus whispered to Sarah. We lit a match and the whole forest was ready to catch fire. Sarah nodded, remembering that Tuesday afternoon. One decision, one moment. And now this. A movement that was really just a return to why education existed. 5 years had passed. Sarah's office occupied an entire floor of the district building. But the most important change was the culture. Staying after had become staying with. We have a problem, Dr. Hawkins said. The state legislature is threatening to cut funding. They want data showing economic return on investment. Before Sarah could respond, Marcus burst in. Now a college freshman, he was interning during winter break. I have an idea. What if we give them a human library, every legislator paired with a stay-after student? It was brilliant in its simplicity. They had 3 weeks to convince politicians that connection mattered more than test scores. The State House cafeteria had never seen anything like it. 50 legislators, 50 students. Amy showing her portfolio to a senator who'd been ready to vote against funding. David reading poetry to a representative who'd called the program feel-good fluff. My daughter struggled in school, one legislator admitted. I always told her to work harder. I never thought maybe she just needed someone to stay. The vote was unanimous, not just to maintain funding but to increase it, to make staying after not extra but expected. We did it, Marcus said afterward. We actually changed things. Sarah looked at the wall of photos. Hundreds now. No, she corrected. You did it. That Tuesday when you let me stay. When you picked up your pencil. That's when everything changed. Marcus smiled. You know what? This means, right? We can't stop now. There are kids everywhere who need someone to stay. Sarah nodded, feeling the weight and wonder of what they'd built. Not a program, but a philosophy. Not a mandate, but a movement. The calling to see the invisible. 10 years. Sarah stood before the United Nations Educational Summit representing a global movement. Stay After had spread to 43 countries. Education is in crisis worldwide, she began. Not because we lack technology or curriculum, because we've forgotten that before we can teach minds, we must reach hearts. Behind her, faces from around the world, students in Bangladesh whose teachers stayed after monsoons, communities in Kenya where staying meant walking miles. The same truth in dozens of languages. Marcus, now Dr. Marcus Williams, sat in the audience. His research proved what they'd always known. When students felt valued, their brains literally changed. 10 years ago, a student asked me why learning mattered. The real answer came when I stayed. That's what education is. Not transfer of knowledge, but transmission of worth. A minister from Japan raised his hand. How do we implement subjective values in objective systems? Before Sarah could answer, voices rose from around the hall. Teachers sharing their experiences. A principal from Brazil talking about decreased violence. A minister from Germany sharing mental health outcomes. You don't standardize it, Sarah answered. You localize it. You trust teachers. You measure success in transformed lives. The summit concluded with signing the Global Stay After Charter, a promise that education would remember its heart. As delegates dispersed, Sarah found herself with Marcus and Mrs. Rodriguez. What now? Marcus asked. Back to the classroom, Mrs. Rodriguez said. Because that's where it always starts, the moment someone stays. Monday, Sarah said. I'm going back to teaching, part-time. Because movements are important, but moments are everything. The revolution had come full circle, from one classroom to the world and back, because that's where education lived. In quiet moments after the yoke, bell rang. Sarah stood in her new classroom 25 years after that first Tuesday. Her hair showed silver now, but her eyes held the same light. You're the teacher who started it all. A young boy stood in her doorway. My mom told me. She said you stayed after with a kid named Marcus. Sarah smiled. I'm just a teacher who remembered why I teach. What's your name? Jamie. Jamie Rodriguez. He hesitated. I'm not good at school. Mom says I need someone to stay. Rodriguez. Sarah's heart caught. Is your grandmother Maria Rodriguez? Great-grandmother. She died last year, but she told me stories about a teacher who stayed and how they changed the world. She said everyone deserves someone who stays. Sarah felt tears threaten. Mrs. Rodriguez gone but never gone. Come in, Jamie, tell me what's hard about school. As Jamie settled in, Sarah pulled up a chair beside him. The same configuration, the same belief that every child mattered infinitely. She thought about Marcus, now leading teacher training institutes worldwide, about the millions of students who'd been seen, about the systems that had bent toward connection. But mostly she thought about Jamie. This child, this moment, this choice to stay. I don't understand fractions, Jamie whispered. Everyone else gets it. I think I'm stupid. Sarah's hand found his shoulder. You're not stupid, Jamie. You just learn differently. We'll find your way together. I'll stay as long as you need. The boy looked up, hope flickering. Really? You'll stay? Every day you need me to. That's what teachers do. Real teachers. We stay. Outside, the world spun on, but inside room 204, time stood still. A teacher and student, connected by the simple, revolutionary act of refusing to give up. The pencil moved. Just a twitch at first, then with growing confidence. Jamie Rodriguez began to write, and Sarah Chen did what she'd always done. She taught, she saw, she stayed. Because this was education's deepest truth. Before lesson plans and standards, there was simply this. A human being choosing to see another human being. A teacher pulling up a chair. A student learning they were worth the time. In classrooms around the world, the same scene played out. Teachers staying, students mattering, hearts connecting. The revolution that had become simply the way things were. Jamie smiled. I think I'm getting it, Ms. Chen. Sarah smiled back, seeing not just Jamie but all the students who'd sat in that chair. You're getting it, Jamie. You're definitely getting it. The afternoon light slanted gold across the classroom, and Sarah Chen, teacher, stayed, just as she always had, just as teachers always would. Because once you remembered why you taught, how could you ever leave? The bell rang, marking the end of another school day. But in room 204, the real education was just beginning. One teacher, one student, one afternoon that would ripple outward. The same story, ever new. The same truth, ever powerful. Someone stayed. Someone saw. Someone cared. And everything changed. Like the video, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. This channel is for those who believe in the power of small acts to change lives.